Is the vanilla in your pantry actually made from vanilla beans? Think again. After investigating some of America's most popular vanilla brands, a surprising pattern emerged. Many bottles rely on artificial flavor compounds instead of real vanilla. Today, we're counting down 10 vanilla brands to avoid and revealing 4 that are actually made with genuine vanilla beans. Number 10, McCormick Clear Imitation Vanilla. Most people assume vanilla is vanilla. If the bottle says vanilla on the front, surely it came from vanilla beans. But McCormick Clear Imitation Vanilla tells a very different story. In fact, the company openly markets this product as an artificially flavored alternative designed to provide vanilla taste without adding color to frostings, cakes, glazes, and desserts. The ingredient list is surprisingly short: water, alcohol, vanillin, other artificial flavorings, and citric acid. What is missing is the most important ingredient of all: actual vanilla beans. Now, to be fair, there is nothing illegal about this product. McCormick clearly labels it as artificially flavored. The problem is that many shoppers see the familiar red cap and trusted brand name and assume they are getting something close to real vanilla extract. They are not. Real vanilla contains hundreds of naturally occurring flavor compounds developed through the labor-intensive cultivation and curing of vanilla orchids. Imitation vanilla relies primarily on synthetic vanillin, which reproduces only the dominant vanilla note while leaving behind much of the complexity that makes genuine vanilla special. The reason this product exists is simple: economics. Real vanilla is one of the world's most expensive spices. Producing genuine extract requires enormous amounts of vanilla beans, while synthetic vanillin can be manufactured at a fraction of the cost. If your goal is authentic vanilla flavor, this bottle represents the first shortcut on our list. It delivers the appearance of vanilla, but not the real ingredient many consumers think they're buying. Number 9, Wilton Clear Imitation Vanilla Extract. Wilton Clear Imitation Vanilla Extract is a product designed for one very specific purpose: appearance. If you've ever wondered how bakeries keep wedding cakes, buttercream flowers, and bright white frostings perfectly white, this is often part of the answer. Unlike real vanilla extract, which naturally adds a light amber tint, clear imitation vanilla is formulated to deliver vanilla-like flavor without changing color. Wilton openly markets it as an alternative for decorators who want visually perfect frosting in cakes. The issue isn't that the product is unsafe or illegally labeled. The issue is what many shoppers assume when they see the word vanilla. Real vanilla extract is produced from cured vanilla beans and contains hundreds of naturally occurring flavor compounds that create depth, warmth, and complexity. Imitation vanilla, by contrast, relies largely on synthetic vanillin and added flavor compounds designed to mimic the dominant note of vanilla at a much lower cost. And that lower cost is the entire reason products like this exist. Vanilla beans are among the most labor-intensive agricultural products in the world. Every orchid flower must be hand-pollinated, harvested, cured, and processed before it ever reaches a bottle. Synthetic vanillin can be manufactured far more cheaply, allowing companies to produce large volumes of flavoring at a fraction of the cost of genuine extract. For decorating cakes, many bakers consider that trade-off acceptable. But if you're buying vanilla because you want authentic vanilla flavor, this product is selling convenience and appearance, not the ingredient. Number 8, Great Value Clear Vanilla Flavoring. This is the vanilla flavoring many shoppers buy for one simple reason: price. When you're trying to keep a grocery budget under control, reaching for a store brand bottle instead of a premium vanilla extract feels like a completely reasonable decision. And that's exactly why Great Value Clear Vanilla Flavoring deserves a closer look. The word that matters here is not vanilla, it's flavoring. Unlike pure vanilla extract, which is made by extracting compounds from real vanilla beans, artificial vanilla flavorings are typically built around synthetic flavor compounds designed to imitate vanilla's most recognizable taste note. Similar artificial vanilla products often contain ingredients such as artificial flavoring, propylene glycol, water, and coloring agents rather than vanilla bean extractives. To be fair, Walmart is not hiding this. The product is marketed as an artificial flavoring rather than pure vanilla extract. The problem is that many consumers don't recognize how large the gap is between those two categories. Real vanilla contains more than 200 flavor compounds that create the rich, layered taste people associate with homemade desserts. Artificial vanilla reproduces only a small portion of that complexity, usually at a dramatically lower production cost. And that's the real story behind this bottle. The lower price isn't the result of some breakthrough efficiency. It's the result of removing the most expensive ingredient from the formula: actual vanilla beans. You aren't buying real vanilla that's been made cheaper. You're buying a different product entirely that has been engineered to taste close enough for most people not to notice. Number 7, Baker's imitation vanilla flavor. At first glance, Baker's imitation vanilla flavor looks almost identical to the vanilla extracts many families have used for generations. The label promises rich vanilla flavor. The price is attractive. And for home bakers trying to stretch a budget, it can seem like an easy choice. But when you turn the bottle around, a different story begins to emerge. Instead of vanilla bean extractives, the formula relies on ingredients such as vanillin, ethyl vanillin, propylene glycol, caramel color, and preservatives. In other words, the flavor is created through manufactured compounds rather than actual vanilla beans. Now, it's important to be fair here. Baker's does not hide the fact that this is imitation vanilla. The product is legally labeled and marketed as an alternative to pure vanilla extract. In fact, many bakers appreciate it because artificial vanillin holds its flavor well during high temperature baking and costs far less than genuine vanilla. The problem is that most consumers don't realize how different imitation vanilla is from the real thing. Real vanilla beans contain hundreds of naturally occurring flavor compounds developed through months of cultivation, harvesting, and curing. Synthetic vanilla recreates only a small fraction of that complexity. And that's the real reason this product exists. Not because it's better, because it's cheaper. You're paying for a laboratory-created approximation of vanilla that delivers consistent flavor at a fraction of the cost of genuine extract. For some recipes, that compromise may be acceptable, but if your goal is authentic vanilla, number 6, Molina Mexican Vanilla Blend. This is where our countdown starts to get more complicated, because unlike many of the products we've already discussed, Molina Mexican Vanilla Blend actually contains some real vanilla extract. The problem is that it isn't pure vanilla extract. It's a blend that combines genuine vanilla with artificial flavor compounds, creating a product that sits somewhere between real vanilla and imitation vanilla. That distinction matters. When most shoppers see phrases like Mexican vanilla or authentic Mexican tradition, they often imagine a bottle made primarily from carefully cured vanilla beans. The packaging leans heavily into that heritage. Molina has a long history dating back to 1944 and promotes its connection to traditional Mexican vanilla production. But a closer look at the ingredient list reveals vanillin, ethyl vanillin, propylene glycol, caramel color, preservatives, and natural and artificial flavors alongside pure vanilla extract. In other words, the rich vanilla taste is being boosted by manufactured flavor compounds rather than coming entirely from vanilla beans. To be clear, Molina is not accused of misleading consumers illegally. The company openly describes the product as a Mexican vanilla blend. The issue is value. When you buy a blend, part of what you're paying for is real vanilla, but part of the flavor profile is still being created through synthetic vanillin. Real vanilla contains hundreds of naturally occurring aromatic compounds. Artificial vanillin recreates only a small fraction of that complexity. That's why Molina lands at number 6. It's a step above pure imitation vanilla. Number 5, Blue Cattle Truck Trading Co. Vanilla flavoring. By the time most shoppers reach this section of the baking aisle, they've already learned one important lesson. The word vanilla on the front of a bottle doesn't necessarily mean real vanilla is inside. Blue Cattle Truck Trading Co. vanilla flavoring is a perfect example. The packaging feels old-fashioned and homemade. It looks like something that belongs in a country kitchen rather than an industrial flavor factory. That rustic appearance creates an immediate sense of trust. Many consumers naturally assume they're getting a traditional vanilla product made from vanilla beans. But the word that matters is flavoring. Products marketed as vanilla flavoring are often built around vanillin and other flavor compounds rather than relying entirely on extract derived from cured vanilla beans. The result is a product designed to mimic vanilla's primary flavor at a significantly lower cost than genuine vanilla extract. Real vanilla contains more than 200 naturally occurring flavor compounds, while artificial versions typically focus on reproducing only the dominant note. And that brings us to the bigger issue. The cost difference between real vanilla and imitation vanilla isn't small. Madagascar alone supplies roughly 80% of the world's natural vanilla, and vanilla cultivation remains one of the most labor-intensive agricultural processes on Earth. Every flower must be hand-pollinated, harvested, and cured before it becomes extract. Manufacturers know most consumers won't notice every missing flavor compound in a chocolate cake or batch of cookies. What they will notice is price. That's why flavorings like this exist. They deliver the familiar idea of vanilla while avoiding the enormous expense of using large amounts of actual vanilla beans. To be clear, there is nothing illegal or inherently unsafe about that approach. The concern is transparency. Many shoppers believe they're purchasing a traditional vanilla product when they're really buying a carefully engineered approximation. And that gap between expectation and reality is why Blue Cattle Truck Trading Co. vanilla flavoring lands at number 5 on our list. Number 4, Watkins Imitation Vanilla. By the time we reach number 4, the conversation shifts from bargain brands to something much more interesting, because Watkins is a name many Americans genuinely trust. The company has been around since the 19th century, and generations of families associate the brand with home baking, traditional recipes, and old-fashioned pantry staples. That history gives Watkins something incredibly valuable: credibility, and that's exactly why its imitation vanilla deserves a closer look. To be clear, Watkins sells both pure vanilla extract and imitation vanilla products. The issue isn't deception. The issue is that many shoppers see the trusted Watkins name and assume all vanilla products carrying that label are essentially the same. They aren't. The imitation version relies primarily on vanillin and other flavor compounds designed to mimic vanilla's most recognizable flavor note, rather than the full complexity of genuine vanilla beans. Real vanilla contains hundreds of naturally occurring aromatic compounds that develop during the lengthy curing process. Synthetic alternatives reproduce only a small portion of that flavor experience. And once again, the reason comes down to economics. Real vanilla remains one of the most expensive flavor ingredients on Earth. Using synthetic vanillin dramatically reduces manufacturing costs while delivering a flavor most consumers recognize as vanilla. That's the compromise hidden inside this bottle. You're not paying for the craftsmanship of vanilla farming, hand pollination, curing, and extraction. You're paying for a laboratory-created shortcut designed to approximate the result. For some recipes, that difference may seem minor, but when a trusted heritage brand places imitation and pure vanilla side by side on the shelf, many consumers never realize how different those two bottles really are. Number 3, Tone's Imitation Vanilla Flavor. Now we're entering the top 3. And this is where the conversation stops being about obvious bargain products and starts becoming about expectations. Because Tone's is a familiar name in American spice cabinets. People associate the brand with seasonings, baking ingredients, and everyday cooking essentials. There's an assumption that if it's sitting next to the spices, it must be a traditional pantry ingredient. But that's not necessarily true. Tone's imitation vanilla flavor is exactly what the name suggests, an imitation product built around artificial flavor compounds rather than vanilla bean extract. Like many products in this category, its purpose is simple: deliver a recognizable vanilla taste at the lowest possible cost. The economics are hard to ignore. Real vanilla beans remain one of the world's most expensive spices, while synthetic vanillin can be produced for a fraction of the price. What's interesting is that most consumers never consciously choose between real vanilla and imitation vanilla. They choose between brands. And that's where the marketing becomes powerful. The front label focuses on flavor and familiarity. The back label tells a different story. The product is engineered to provide a consistent vanilla profile, but it lacks the hundreds of naturally occurring flavor compounds found in genuine vanilla extract. Real vanilla contains far more complexity than the single dominant vanillin note that imitation products are designed to reproduce. To be fair, imitation vanilla has legitimate uses. Professional bakers often use it in cookies, cakes, and brownies because high baking temperatures can diminish some of the subtle flavor compounds found in pure vanilla. In certain blind taste tests, consumers have struggled to tell the difference in baked goods. But that's not really the issue. The issue is that many shoppers think they're buying vanilla when they're actually buying a flavor system designed to imitate vanilla. Those are not the same thing. And once you understand that distinction, you start seeing the entire vanilla aisle differently. That's why Tone's imitation vanilla flavor earns the number 3 spot on our countdown. It isn't the worst offender because it openly identifies itself as imitation vanilla, but it still represents another example of a product where the cost savings come directly from replacing one of the most valuable ingredients in the recipe. Number 2, market pantry vanilla flavoring. This is where the countdown starts getting uncomfortable because Market Pantry isn't some obscure discount brand hidden on the bottom shelf. It's a major store brand found in millions of American kitchens, backed by the trust and convenience of one of the country's largest retailers. Most shoppers grab it without a second thought. After all, it's vanilla flavoring. How different could it really be? The answer is much more different than most people realize. Like many products in the imitation vanilla category, vanilla flavoring is designed around the economics of flavor production. Real vanilla beans are extraordinarily expensive to grow, harvest, cure, and process. Synthetic flavor compounds such as vanillin and ethyl vanillin can deliver a recognizable vanilla taste for a tiny fraction of that cost. That's why imitation vanilla products have become so common throughout the food industry. And that's the key issue here. Most consumers aren't comparing ingredient panels, they're comparing prices. When one bottle costs 2 or 3 times more than another, it is natural to assume the cheaper option is simply a better value. But what you're often seeing is not the same product sold at a lower price. You're seeing a completely different formula. Real vanilla develops its flavor through hundreds of naturally occurring aromatic compounds. Artificial flavor systems focus primarily on recreating the dominant vanilla note while leaving much of that complexity behind. Numerous baking discussions online reveal that even experienced bakers debate the difference, but most agree that imitation and pure vanilla are fundamentally different ingredients rather than interchangeable versions of the same thing. To be clear, Market Pantry vanilla flavoring is not breaking any rules. The concern is expectation. The packaging suggests a familiar baking staple, but the formula is built around affordability and consistency rather than authenticity. And that's what pushes it all the way to number 2 on our list. Because when consumers think they're buying vanilla, but are actually buying a carefully engineered flavor substitute, the gap between perception and reality becomes impossible to ignore. Number 1, Kroger imitation vanilla flavor. And now we arrive at the number 1 spot. Not because Kroger's imitation vanilla flavor is illegal, not because it's uniquely dangerous, and not because it's the cheapest bottle on the shelf. It lands at number 1 because it represents the biggest gap between what most shoppers think they're buying and what they're actually taking home. Walk into a Kroger store and you'll find this bottle sitting right beside pure vanilla extracts. To the average consumer, the difference can seem surprisingly small. Both are called vanilla. Both are used in baking. Both come in similar bottles, but chemically and economically, they're completely different products. Like many imitation vanilla products, Kroger's formula is built around artificial vanilla flavor compounds rather than extract derived primarily from vanilla beans. The entire purpose is to deliver a recognizable vanilla taste at a dramatically lower cost than genuine vanilla extract. Real vanilla contains more than 200 naturally occurring flavor compounds, while imitation versions focus largely on vanillin, the dominant flavor note. And that's where the real story begins. Most consumers assume the lower price reflects a bargain. In reality, it reflects a substitution. The most expensive ingredient in the recipe, real vanilla beans, has largely been replaced by a manufactured flavor system. Madagascar supplies roughly 80% of the world's natural vanilla, and producing genuine vanilla remains one of the most labor-intensive agricultural processes in the food industry. Every flower must be hand-pollinated before the beans are harvested and cured. Now, to be fair, imitation vanilla has legitimate uses. Many professional bakers use it in cakes, cookies, and brownies. Some blind taste tests have even shown that consumers struggle to tell the difference in certain baked goods. But that's not what this countdown is measuring. This list is measuring authenticity. And when it comes to authenticity, Kroger imitation vanilla flavor sits at the very bottom because it delivers the widest separation between expectation and reality. Millions of shoppers see the word vanilla and imagine cured vanilla beans. What they're actually buying is a carefully engineered flavor substitute designed to mimic the original at the lowest possible cost. That's the secret hidden across much of the vanilla aisle. You're not always choosing between good and bad. You're choosing between real and imitation. Real vanilla brand number 4, Nielsen Massey Pure Vanilla Extract. This is where the countdown changes direction. Up until now, we've looked at products that save money by replacing real vanilla with synthetic flavor systems. Nielsen Massey Pure Vanilla Extract does the exact opposite. The first thing that stands out is the ingredient list: water, alcohol, sugar, vanilla bean extractives. That's it. No artificial vanillin, no imitation flavor compounds, no engineered shortcuts designed to mimic vanilla. The flavor comes from actual vanilla beans extracted through the company's proprietary cold extraction process. Nielsen Massey states that its pure vanilla extract is made from a blend of premium vanilla beans and contains more than 300 flavor components naturally found within the beans. And that's important because real vanilla is far more complex than most people realize. When you've spent years using imitation vanilla, you've essentially been tasting a single note. Real vanilla delivers layers of flavor that can be floral, creamy, fruity, woody, and even slightly spicy depending on the bean source and extraction process. Of course, authenticity comes at a price. A bottle of Nielsen Massey often costs several times more than imitation vanilla alternatives. But that's not a luxury markup. That's the actual cost of sourcing genuine vanilla beans, one of the most labor-intensive crops in the world. Madagascar alone supplies roughly 80% of the global vanilla market, and every vanilla flower must be hand-pollinated before the beans are harvested and cured. Nielsen Massey Pure Vanilla Extract. What makes Nielsen Massey stand out even further is its transparency. The company openly publishes ingredient information, maintains gluten-free certification, and has built a reputation around using real vanilla rather than flavor substitutes. Is it more expensive? Absolutely. But for the first time on this list, you're paying for actual vanilla beans instead of a laboratory-created imitation. And that's why Nielsen Massey Pure Vanilla Extract earns the number 4 spot among the brands that are actually made with real vanilla. Real vanilla brand number 3, Simply Organic Madagascar Pure Vanilla Extract. This is the point in the countdown where you start remembering what vanilla is actually supposed to be, not what the food industry has trained us to expect, not the sharp, one-dimensional flavor that comes from synthetic vanillin, real vanilla. And Simply Organic Madagascar Pure Vanilla Extract is one of the best examples of that difference. The ingredient list is almost shockingly simple: organic vanilla bean extractives, water, and organic alcohol. No artificial flavors, no preservatives, no synthetic vanillin, no mysterious natural flavor blends hiding behind marketing language. That simplicity matters because every shortcut removed from the formula means the flavor has to come from the vanilla beans themselves. Simply Organic sources Madagascar bourbon vanilla, widely considered one of the world's premier vanilla varieties. The beans are hand-pollinated, harvested, cured, and extracted through a process that can take more than a year from flower to bottle. And unlike many brands that rely heavily on marketing buzzwords, Simply Organic backs its product with meaningful standards. The extract is USDA Organic certified, non-GMO, gluten-free, and contains no artificial ingredients. The company openly explains exactly what pure vanilla means and distinguishes it from imitation products built around laboratory-produced flavor compounds. There is one downside: price. Real vanilla is expensive because real vanilla is difficult to produce. There are no shortcuts. Every flower must be pollinated by hand, and every bean must be cured over months before extraction begins. That cost eventually shows up on the shelf. Simply Organic Madagascar Pure Vanilla Extract. But that's exactly why this brand earns the number 3 position. You're not paying extra for fancy packaging or a wellness trend. You're paying for actual vanilla beans, real agricultural work, and an ingredient list that looks the way vanilla extract looked long before the food industry started searching for cheaper alternatives. Real vanilla brand. Number 2, McCormick Pure Vanilla Extract. This might be the biggest surprise on the entire list, because earlier in this countdown, we criticized McCormick's clear imitation vanilla for relying on synthetic flavor compounds instead of actual vanilla beans. But McCormick Pure Vanilla Extract is a completely different product. Flip the bottle over, and you'll find one of the simplest ingredient lists in the entire vanilla aisle: vanilla bean extractives in water and alcohol. That's it. No artificial vanillin, no imitation flavoring, no engineered substitutes. The vanilla flavor comes directly from real vanilla beans, exactly as pure vanilla extract has been made for generations. This is an important reminder that consumers should evaluate products individually, not just brands. Many companies sell both premium products and lower cost alternatives. McCormick happens to be one of them. What makes this extract stand out is consistency. The company has spent decades refining its sourcing and extraction process, creating a product trusted by home bakers and professional kitchens alike. McCormick also states that the extract contains no corn syrup and is gluten-free. The reality is that genuine vanilla is expensive. Madagascar produces roughly 80% of the world's natural vanilla supply, and the cultivation process remains remarkably labor-intensive. Every vanilla flower must be hand-pollinated before the beans can be harvested, cured, and eventually transformed into extract. That cost eventually reaches the shelf. But unlike imitation vanilla, where you're paying for a flavor simulation, here you're paying for the actual agricultural product. The result is a richer and more complex flavor profile. Real vanilla contains hundreds of naturally occurring aromatic compounds that contribute floral, creamy, woody, and slightly spicy notes beyond simple vanillin. What keeps McCormick from taking the number 1 spot? Mainly transparency and specialization. While it's an excellent mainstream choice, there are smaller vanilla-focused companies that go even further in sourcing transparency and premium bean selection. Still, for a product available in millions of grocery stores across America, McCormick Pure Vanilla Extract proves that convenience and authenticity don't have to be opposites. It's real vanilla. It's made from real vanilla beans, and that's why it earns the number 2 position on our list of vanilla brands that are actually made with real vanilla. Real vanilla brand number 1, Trader Joe's Pure Bourbon Vanilla Extract. This is the bottle that completely changes how you think about the vanilla aisle. Because unlike most of the products on our avoid list, Trader Joe's Pure Bourbon Vanilla Extract doesn't try to recreate vanilla. It starts with actual vanilla beans. And that sounds obvious until you realize how rare that has become. The ingredient list is almost unbelievably simple: water, organic ethyl alcohol, and organic vanilla bean extractives. No artificial vanillin, no imitation flavor compounds, no preservatives, no mystery flavor systems hiding behind marketing language. Just real vanilla extracted from real vanilla beans. What makes this product especially impressive is that it delivers premium quality vanilla without carrying the premium price tag that many specialty brands charge. The vanilla beans come from the bourbon vanilla growing region associated with islands such as Réunion, an area famous for producing some of the world's most sought-after vanilla. Despite the name, bourbon refers to the vanilla variety and region, not bourbon whiskey. Even more interesting is the extraction process. Trader Joe's uses a cold extraction method that helps preserve delicate aromatic compounds that can be lost during high-temperature processing. Those compounds are what give real vanilla its floral, creamy, woody, and slightly caramel-like complexity. And the flavor isn't just marketing hype. In a blind taste test conducted by Bon Appetit, Trader Joe's Pure Bourbon Vanilla Extract was selected as the publication's top budget pick, praised for its rich flavor, floral notes, and exceptional value. This is also where the price versus value conversation becomes important. Yes, pure vanilla costs more than imitation vanilla, but that's because you're paying for one of the most labor-intensive ingredients in the food world. Every vanilla flower must be hand-pollinated. Every bean must be harvested and cured over months before extraction even begins. Real vanilla is expensive because real vanilla takes extraordinary work to produce. And that's why Trader Joe's Pure Bourbon Vanilla Extract earns the number one position. Not because it's the most expensive, not because it has the fanciest packaging, but because it delivers what consumers think they're buying when they reach for vanilla in the first place. Genuine vanilla bean flavor, a transparent ingredient list, and a product built around the real ingredient instead of a synthetic substitute.